The moment she heard the words, something inside her broke. Quietly. Not loudly, not dramatically, just silently. Like glass cracking under pressure no one else could see. "Don't worry about her," Daniel said, his voice low, confident, dismissive. "She's just a nobody." The word nobody echoed in her ears like a gunshot. And the worst part? He was talking about his own wife. "Before we go any further, I want to ask you something real quick. Where are you watching from right now? Drop your city and country in the comments. I love seeing how far these stories travel. And if you haven't already, take a second to subscribe to her quiet empire. Because stories like this, they don't just entertain, they reveal truths people try to hide. Now, let's go back to the moment everything changed. Her name was Amara Nwoye. At least, that was the name everyone knew. Quiet, soft-spoken, always dressed simply. The kind of woman people overlooked without even realizing it. She didn't talk much at social gatherings. She smiled politely. She listened more than she spoke. And in her husband's world? That made her invisible. But what no one knew, not even Daniel, was that Amara wasn't just some quiet housewife. She was something far more dangerous. She just didn't know it yet. Amara stood frozen by the hallway wall, her hand pressed against her chest, as if trying to hold her heart together. From where she stood, she could see them clearly. Daniel, and the woman wrapped in his arms. The woman was beautiful, confident, the kind of woman who didn't ask for attention. She commanded it. Her name was Vanessa. Amara had seen her before, at events, at dinners, always lingering just a little too close to Daniel, always laughing a little too hard at his jokes. And now she knew why. Vanessa ran her fingers slowly down Daniel's chest, her voice soft but sharp. "Are you sure she won't suspect anything?" Daniel smirked. That same smirk Amara used to think meant love. "No," he said casually. "Amara? She's too simple for that." "Too simple." Amara's breath caught in her throat. "She doesn't understand business. She doesn't understand power. Honestly," he chuckled, pulling Vanessa closer, "she doesn't understand anything." Vanessa laughed, and this time, Amara felt it like a knife. But what hurt more than the betrayal was the truth hidden beneath his words. Because Daniel wasn't just cheating. He believed it. He truly believed she was nothing. Amara slowly stepped back, her body trembling, her mind spinning. For 5 years, she had stood beside this man, supported him, trusted him, loved him, and all along, he had been building a life where she didn't exist. The house suddenly felt too small, too suffocating, too fake. Every picture on the wall, every memory, every smile they had shared now felt like a lie. She walked quietly to the bedroom, closing the door behind her. Her reflection stared back at her from the mirror. Simple green outfit, natural hair, no makeup, nothing flashy, nothing loud, nothing that screamed importance. And for the first time, she saw what the world saw, a woman easy to ignore. But something else stirred beneath that reflection, something deeper, something buried. A question she had never asked herself before. Who am I, really? Because the truth was, Amara's life had always been strange. There were gaps in her past, missing pieces, things that never quite made sense. She had grown up in a modest home, raised by a quiet guardian who never spoke much about her origins. Whenever she asked about her parents, she got the same answer. They loved you. That's all you need to know. No photos, no names, no history. Just silence. And Amara had accepted it. Because she had always been taught to stay quiet, to not question too much, to be simple. Until now, her phone buzzed on the bedside table, snapping her out of her thoughts. Unknown number. She hesitated, then picked it up. "Hello." A pause, then a voice. Calm, professional, controlled. "Good evening. Is this Miss Amara Nwoye?" "Yes. My name is Mr. Laurent. I've been trying to reach you for quite some time." Amara frowned slightly. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" "No," he said. "But you should know me. I represent the legal board of Aurelia Global Holdings." Amara blinked. The name sounded familiar. Big, important. "I think you have the wrong number." she said softly. Another pause. No, he replied. We have the right person. Her heart began to beat faster. What is this about? There was a slight shift in his tone now, respectful, almost cautious. It concerns your inheritance. Inheritance? Amara sat down slowly on the edge of the bed. I don't have an inheritance. You do, he said firmly. And it's time you claimed it. Something about his voice made her stomach twist. What are you talking about? Another pause, then the words that would change everything. You are the sole beneficiary of the Aurelia fashion empire. Oh. Silence, heavy, unreal. Amara let out a small, confused laugh. That's not possible. It is, he replied. Your parents built one of the largest luxury fashion conglomerates in the world. Her breath caught. No, my parents were not who you were told they were. The room felt like it was spinning. This doesn't make sense. I understand this is overwhelming, he said calmly. But we have documentation, DNA confirmation, legal transfers, everything. Amara's voice dropped to a whisper. How much? A pause. Then, approximately $95 billion. The phone nearly slipped from her hand. 95 billion? Her entire life, every moment of being overlooked, every time she had been dismissed, every time Daniel had spoken over her, ignored her, treated her like she was small. And now, a knock on the door, sharp, sudden. Amara's heart jumped. Amara? Daniel's voice came from the other side. Who are you talking to? She froze. Her eyes slowly moved toward the door. The man who just called her a nobody was standing just a few feet away. On the phone, Mr. Laurent spoke again. Miss Nouy, there's one more thing you need to know. Her voice barely came out. What? You were hidden for a reason. Her pulse pounded in her ears. What reason? A pause. Longer this time. Darker. Because someone very close to you was never supposed to find out who you really are. The door handle began to turn, slowly. Amara's grip tightened on the phone. Her breath stopped. Her entire world balanced on the edge of something terrifying. And then, the door opened. Daniel stepped inside. His eyes locked onto hers. Suspicious, sharp, dangerous. Who were you talking to? He asked again. Amara said nothing. But for the first time, she wasn't afraid. Because in that moment, everything had changed, and Daniel had no idea that the woman he called a nobody was actually the most powerful person in the room. The silence between them was no longer weak. It was heavy, controlled, dangerous. Daniel stepped further into the room, his eyes narrowing as he studied Amara's face. You didn't answer me, he said slowly. Who were you talking to? Amara placed the phone down gently on the bed. Her movements were calm now. Too calm. No one, she replied. A lie, but not the kind he was used to hearing. This one had weight. Daniel frowned. He wasn't used to this version of her. The quiet Amara? Yes. The obedient Amara? Yes. But this stillness? This confidence? It unsettled him. You've been acting strange lately, he said, folding his arms. First you ignore me all evening, now you're hiding phone calls? Amara looked up at him. Really looked at him. And for the first time, she didn't see a husband. She saw a stranger. Do you love me, Daniel? She asked suddenly. The question caught him off guard. What kind of question is that? A simple one. He scoffed lightly. Of course I do. But the answer came too fast, too rehearsed, too empty. Amara nodded slowly. I see. Daniel stepped closer. Where is this coming from? She held his gaze. I heard you. 3 words. That was all it took. The color drained from his face. Just slightly. But enough. Heard what? He asked carefully. Amara stood up. Her voice didn't shake. You told her I was a nobody. Silence. Thick. Unavoidable. For a moment, Daniel said nothing. And in that moment, he knew. There was no point denying it. He exhaled slowly, running a hand through his hair. You weren't supposed to hear that. Not an apology. Not regret. Just inconvenience. Amara felt something inside her close completely. A door, one that would never open again. So it's true, she said quietly. Daniel shrugged. It's not what you think. A familiar line. Predictable. Weak. Then explain it to me, Amara replied. He hesitated. Then his expression hardened. You want the truth? He said. Yes? Daniel stepped closer, his voice dropping. You've never fit into my world, Amara. The words hit, but didn't break her. Not anymore. You're too quiet, too passive. You don't understand business, connections, influence. I built your peace, she cut in softly. That stopped him. I supported you when you had nothing, she continued. I stood by you when no one else believed in you. Daniel laughed, but there was tension behind it. And what exactly did that get me? He snapped. A wife who doesn't even know how the real world works? Amara smiled, a small, almost invisible smile, because now she did. You're right, she said calmly. I don't understand your world. Daniel relaxed slightly, thinking he had regained control. And you don't understand mine. Something about the way she said it made his chest tighten. What is that supposed to mean? He asked. Amara walked past him, slowly, gracefully. It means, she said, that everything you think you know about me, she stopped at the door, is wrong. And then she walked out. Daniel stood there, confused, annoyed, but deep down, uneasy, because for the first time, he felt like he was losing something. He just didn't know what yet. That night, Amara didn't sleep. Instead, she sat by the window, her phone in her hand, waiting, thinking, replaying everything. At exactly 6:00 a.m., her phone rang again. Miss Nwoy, Mr. Laurent's voice came through. Are you ready? Amara stared out at the rising sun. Her old life was ending. Yes, she said. I'm ready. By noon, Amara was sitting inside a private jet. The world below her looked small, distant, irrelevant. For the first time in her life, she wasn't being carried by someone else's decisions. She was choosing. Mr. Laurent sat across from her, a folder in his hand. Inside it was her truth. Your parents, he began, were founders of Aurelia Fashion Empire, a global powerhouse in luxury design, textiles, and retail. He handed her documents, photos, contracts, proof. They built everything from nothing, he continued. But when they died, there were threats, competitors, enemies. Amara listened carefully, absorbing everything. So they hid me, she said. Mr. Laurent nodded. You were placed under protection, raised away from the spotlight. Your identity? Erased. And now? He met her eyes. Now it's time for you to take your place. Amara looked down at the documents again. $95 billion. Control over one of the most powerful fashion empires in the world. And suddenly, everything made sense. The instincts she couldn't explain. The calm she always felt in chaos. The quiet confidence she never understood. It was never weakness. It was power. Waiting. 3 days later, Amara walked into the headquarters of Aurelia. The building was massive. Glass. Steel. Power. Executives lined the room. Men and women who had spent decades building their careers, all waiting for her. Whispers filled the air as she entered. That's her? She looks so ordinary. Is this a joke? Amara heard everything and said nothing. She walked to the head of the table and sat down. Mr. Laurent spoke. Ladies and gentlemen, meet your new owner. Silence. Then, laughter. One of the senior executives leaned back, shaking his head. This has to be a mistake. Amara looked at him calmly. Your name? She asked. Richard. She nodded. You're fired. The room froze. Richard laughed again. You can't be serious. Amara slid a document across the table. Signed. Authorized. Final. You're no longer part of this company, she said. The laughter stopped. Power doesn't shout. It proves. And in that moment, they understood. She wasn't a nobody. She was everything. Back home, Daniel sat in his office, scrolling through his phone. A news alert popped up. Breaking. Mystery heiress takes control of 95B Aurelia Fashion Empire. He frowned, clicked it, and then his entire world collapsed. Because the woman in the photo Standing at the head of a global empire, wearing confidence like a crown, was his wife, Amara. His phone slipped from his hand. "No," he whispered. Everything he had said, everything he had done, every insult, every betrayal, came crashing back. And suddenly, he understood. He hadn't been living above her. He had been living beneath her. That evening, Amara returned home. Not quietly, not invisibly, but with presence. The air shifted the moment she walked in. Daniel stood in the living room, waiting, pale, nervous. "Amara," he began. She raised her hand, and he stopped. No anger, no shouting, just control. "You said I was a nobody," she said calmly. Daniel swallowed hard. "I didn't know." "Exactly." She stepped closer, her eyes locked onto his. "You didn't know who I was." Each word landed like a hammer. "But more importantly," she continued, her voice dropping slightly, "you never cared to find out." Daniel's voice shook. "I made a mistake." "No," she said. "You made a choice." Silence. And then, the final blow. "I want a divorce." The words echoed through the room. Cold. "Final." Daniel's knees nearly gave out. "Amara, please." She turned away. "Already done." But just before she walked out, she paused and said something he would never forget. "The difference between us, Daniel," she glanced back at him, "is that I was a nobody by design." Her eyes hardened. "But you," a slight pause. "So you chose to be one." And with that, she walked out of his life. Forever. Months later, Aurelia was stronger than ever. Under Amara's leadership, it didn't just grow, it transformed. She built programs for young designers, created opportunities for people who had been overlooked, just like she once was, because she never forgot what it felt like to be invisible. And somewhere in the city, Daniel watched from afar, no longer powerful, no longer admired, just a man, haunted by the moment he called greatness. A nobody. The end. Never underestimate the quiet ones, because sometimes the people the world ignores are the ones silently holding the most power.